The United Nations believes that all persons have the right to a secure, healthy and ecologically sound environment. The concept of environmental justice is founded on this principle. It's the merging of environmentalism with the struggle for social justice. It researches linkages between the two and seeks potential policy solutions.
So I think it is about community action, it is about a sense of urgency. But it's
Friends of the Earth is a key player in this global movement, working on the ground with community groups both internationally and in the UK. The common aim is to empower communities with the knowledge and resources to help them participate in the creation of a healthy, sustainable environment. One of Friends of the Earth's UK bases is in Teesside in the northeast of England. This area has an epic history of heavy industry and equally of pollution and poor health.
I'd like you to also think about.
To discuss environmental justice locally, Friends of the Earth set up a guided walk to bring together local people with representatives from industry and local government. The walk is along a section of the Teesdale Way, a 90-mile trail that follows the Tees from its source high in the Pennines and its descent through the stunning High Force and Tees Valley. The section chosen for the walk is in Teesside and in marked contrast. Cutting through the blackened heart of Teesside's industrial past and present, it is known locally as the Black Path. In the 19th century, this was the world's iron and steel making capital. 2,000 hectares of pristine riverbank and salt marsh were sacrificed to the flames and smoke of 100 blast furnaces. This was heavy industry on a scale never before seen on the planet. In the early 20th century came shipbuilding and gigantic chemical operations. But as industry made huge wealth, it left Teesside with the worst land and air pollution in the UK and the most polluted river in Western Europe. Low wages kept communities close to the breadline, and poor housing so close to industry caused exceptionally poor health.
Today we've got a group of people meeting who are representing the local authority, they're representing conservation groups, environmental groups, and it's to address some of the impacts that industry has had on the environment and on some of the communities.
Walking through landscapes like this, you are confronted with some really quite profound questions about how we live and how we measure success in our economy. Because a lot of what's been done here has been done in the name of progress and development and economic growth, but yet it's left the most profound legacy for the environment imaginable, and not just for now, but for many, many centuries into the future. And I think it should help us to reflect a little bit about really what is the direction we're travelling in with our consumerist culture and our obsession with economic growth. Because if you look around here, you can see some of the consequences.
Teesside today remains a major centre of industry and hosts a range of multinational companies. The area still boasts the largest chemical complex in Europe, the largest blast furnace in Europe, a nuclear power station, and the largest gas-fired power station in the world. The demise of many old sites in the 80s and 90s and subsequent investment in more efficient technology has enabled industry in recent years to begin cleaning up its act. Together with tougher legislation and sustained pressure from the green movement, biodiversity is now increasing. Discharges into the river have reduced, and seals are breeding in the estuary for the first time in over a century. Air pollution has markedly reduced also, but evidence suggests that emissions from industry are still regulated and monitored inadequately.
A lot of the chemicals that come out of the plants aren't even tested, so we just don't know what the impact is on human health of those chemicals. Our research shows that the national air quality standards were breached with cancer-causing chemicals of butadiene and benzene throughout the 1990s. Now, there's no monitoring close to the communities that are close to the polluting sites, and those emissions are obviously going to impact on those communities most.
I live about 400 yards away from the flare stack at Grange Estate, and when it goes off, the windows in the house shake. You have the sirens going in the middle of the night some nights. Your kids are getting woke up on the night time. That's a bit off-putting and upsetting at times. But what angers me most is the fact that we don't get anything from these industries. We've got another industry just building up behind there. I don't know if you can see the cranes, but they're coming closer and closer to our village all the time, and we don't get a penny from these people. There's football fields need redeveloping. There's housing could do with redevelopment. We have no bus service in this village anymore, and we're just forgotten. And we have to put up with all this.
Investments in recent years, plus the demise of the old plants, have also reduced the number of job opportunities. Teesside's loss in the 80s of 64,000 manufacturing jobs had devastating effects upon the local economy. A cancer of long-term unemployment set in, and many working-class communities went into terminal decline. Industry, meanwhile, still central to Teesside's economy, is, in time-honoured tradition, making huge wealth from one of the most deprived areas of the country. The stats and reports still make for grim reading. Extreme deprivation and high unemployment persist, creating a sense of depressing inevitability and social alienation. Mortality rates are 13% higher than the UK, and cancer and respiratory disease have been linked to industrial processes.
If communities like this around parts of the country like Teesside can begin to look at industrial development in the future through the prism of climate change, not only can we be passing on a much more stable atmosphere to future generations, we can also be generating the kind of jobs that we need for the future, clean jobs in clean technologies, particularly in the clean energy industries, which are now beginning to come on stream. And I do think it's now the collective responsibility of environmental groups like Friends of the Earth, for communities, for companies, and crucially for governments, both regionally, locally and nationally, to be putting in place the incentives and the tools that's going to bring forward those technologies as a matter of urgency.
We don't have to talk about industry as if it's perpetually got to be environmentally damaging, because it now is possible for there to be ecologically sound industries developing so that you can protect the environment, indeed improve it, and improve the standards of living and the functionality and the economic development of an area like this. And we are doing extraordinarily well here in Redcar now at exactly that kind of industry.
The government's index of deprivation has just come out, and previously in the past, our local authorities, the health, the lack of educational attainment, all those measures, this area features within the top 10. That's not to say that what you're saying there hasn't been any improvements, but by God, there needs to be, doesn't there?
But I think the point of the walk today was that, there's a great deal to do, and that, the industrial heritage we've got here at the moment is one of, broadly environmental degradation, both in the local context and the global one. And if we can find the policies nationally and locally that's going to bring us beyond that and create the kind of jobs that we need long term, that's fantastic. And so we do hope that you're right and that government is doing that both here and nationally. But I have to say that at times, we're quite disappointed with national government and the trade-off that is still there in some people's minds about developing the economy versus protecting the environment, when in fact what we have to be looking for is synergies where we can get growth, job creation and low carbon living. That is the holy grail, and I think we're starting to get that debate at least.